My name's Keith Marshall. I'm Chief Executive of Summit Skills. We're the Sector Skills Council for Building Services Engineering, which in this case includes plumbing, electrotechnical, heat and vent, refrigeration and air conditioning. There are a relatively small number of very important messages that we're trying to get across here. I think to the employers, to the contractors, we're saying this recession is going to come to an end, and reasonably soon. That the area of work that's going to pull us out of the recession is around environmental technologies and low carbon, and consequently it's important that you do the training now rather than wait. From the government, the issue is about stimulating demand and not trying to continually push supply. And if we bring those two things together, or those two approaches together, then I think that's going to make a significant difference. Well, to be perfectly honest, sustainability and using low carbon is important to all of us, whether we're in the building services engineering sector or not. It's important to the building services engineering sector because we're the people who are going to have a significant impact on the whole of the low carbon agenda. The Chief Construction Officer has said that we need to decarbonise or make more efficient 200,000 houses a day for the next until 2050, and each day we don't do 200,000, then that's more to add on at the end. So the problem is huge, and that work is going to be done by people in the building services engineering sector. So it's a really important business opportunity. It's essential to us. Our primary role is to ensure that the infrastructure is available in terms of occupational standards, qualifications, apprenticeship frameworks, so that the people that employers have to actually do this work are skilled and are properly qualified, so they can do the work effectively and efficiently, that when the equipment is installed, it's installed properly and it actually works. There was a report in The Guardian recently, for example, where heat pumps that they tested had not been installed properly and would actually not be regarded by the European Union as environmental technology at all. The other side of that, of course, is that the consumer can be confident that the equipment is being installed properly and will work, and we're not simply generating more stars for the TV and rogue trainers. Well, obviously one would like it all to happen rather more quickly, but it needs to happen in a planned and managed way. At the moment, we don't really have enough capacity in the training area to match what we think the demand ought to be and will become. In other words, if you like, if everybody woke up tomorrow and decided that they wanted their people trained in this area, we simply wouldn't be able to deal with it because we don't have the training infrastructure. That's why we're setting up our National Skills Academy. The purpose of the National Skills Academy, or one of the key purposes of the National Skills Academy, will be to train the trainers and make sure that the necessary skills can be delivered. I think the key message here, from everything that we're hearing from government, including the Chancellor's statement on the Comprehensive Spending Review, is that this is going to come, and it's coming fairly soon. That it's important that people in the sector are at the front of this, because if they're not, they'll be left behind. And so those who are hesitant about getting involved, my advice to them would be to take the opportunity now to get the skills you need inside your company, so that when the demand does arrive, you're ready there to deal with it straight away, instead of scrabbling around to find skilled people to help you. I think the primary weakness is lack of stimulation of the market on behalf of the government. The sector is dominated by small and micro businesses. They respond to demand from customers. The reason that we're having we're arguing, we're having to persuade and cajole people to get involved in this, because as we sit here today, there isn't actually the demand from customers to any great extent. As soon as the demand arrives, then employers will respond to this very quickly. They always do. They have a track record of behaving in that way. So our role here is to try and encourage people to get ahead of the curve. Government role will be to stimulate the market, because you can be absolutely sure that once an installer, once a contractor has lost his third contract because he doesn't have the people to do the work, then he'll be looking to get his people trained very quickly indeed. We need stimulation on the demand side, not only the bit that we're dealing with, the supply side. We were very pleased with the announcement about the increased number of apprentices. And the key issue there is that these are for adults. We've been arguing for some time for more funding for adults, because career changes are very popular with employers in the sector. There are a whole variety of reasons, but the funding was always poor. So really pleased with that, and I think that's going to make a big difference. There were other issues in the spending review which also we were pleased to see the continued emphasis on low carbon and the green agenda. Also the setting up of the Green Bank, which people have been talking about for some time. Still some more detail to come, but it's always the way. We weren't going to get all the answers on that one day. I think around the Green Bank I have just a slight question, because the way in which I've seen it described so far, there's an implication, I'm not sure whether it's true or not, but there is an implication that it's there to put in place large projects rather than the sort of things that people in the building services engineering sector are going to be looking for. But give them the opportunity. We don't know yet, but I have to admit I just have that slight question in the back of my mind. I think it would be the point I've already raised: stimulate the market. We can only go so far to try and help people understand just what an opportunity is here. To be honest, in the current environment, an awful lot of small and micro businesses are more worried about keeping the business going and aren't really thinking as far into the future as they might. The thing that's going to make the change to that is by stimulating the demand, and that's when the whole thing will then pull through, and that will have impact on skills levels, it'll have impact on employment, the number of people in the sector, it'll have impact on the number of apprentices that the sector trains, and all of that sort of aspect. So we really are in a position where we need something to stimulate the demand from householders and people of that sort. Our modelling figures suggest that over the next 3 years there will be a slight increase in the size of the sector. I think the key point there is that there are, I wouldn't be so bold as to talk about green shoots, but there are suggestions that perhaps the trough isn't actually going to get any lower. I don't know how long we'll bump along the bottom, but before too long we'll start climbing out of it. We're predicting approximately 5% growth in the size of the sector over the next 3 to 4 years. Now, I think the significant issue here is that that growth is going to come out of the environmental technology, low carbon area. It's not going to come out of of more extensions and other things that people work on. Once again, and I make no apology for repeating it, we keep coming back to this issue that in order to take maximum benefit from it, employers need to be at the leading edge of this. So they need to do their training now, or they need to get the skills into the company now so that they can take advantage of it when it comes.